We are back to the automated series, and today we have Lorna Jane, and she is an intuitive healer, an energy master teacher, an NLP mindset coach, and she specifically works for female empaths and entrepreneurs. And I could expand on that even a bit further, but firstly, I'm going to say very welcome to the series today. I'm very glad to have you.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you for connecting and for me to be part of this amazing series.
Absolutely. And also, further, you also mentioned to me that you're working specifically to help women release their fear, resistance, and control by healing their emotions and deepening their intuition to restore faith and trust. So, can you kind of kick us off and just say hi to everyone? And then also, yeah, just tell us a bit more about that you're working with women specifically and how you're working with them.
Yeah, I feel like our industry, there is a lot of women helping women, but I really feel so connected to women. We're such emotional people, and a lot of the work that I do is shifting emotions.
Mm,
I do have some male clients. I've worked with a lot of people, men that have gone through quite severe illnesses and things like that. But my niche is pragmatic, logical women. But what I realize is over time is we have two types of energies. We have a masculine energy and a feminine energy. We carry both inside of us.
mm,
And I've realized over the years that when I had a breakdown a few years ago, which led me onto this path,
mm,
I kind of reflected back in my behavior. And my behavior was very much operating in my masculine energy.
mm,
And your masculine energy is very much about pushing and forcing and structured and logical. And I wasn't very connected to my feelings. I was very
mm,
disconnected from my body. I
mm,
didn't really listen when my body was giving me signs that I was tired. And over years, I just had a huge breakdown and I realized that actually I was very disconnected from myself.
mm,
So, a lot of the work that I do with my clients and women is basically helping them overcome and also preempting what I went through, which was this
mm,
huge breakdown, and get them to really connect to themselves and lean more into their feminine energy and to lean more into their emotions and to shift. Because
mm,
sometimes when we're in our masculine, we're so disconnected from our emotions, we can't make a decision because we're so in our head.
mm,
So a lot of my work is helping them to connect to themselves, connect to higher source, very much a lot of spiritual principles in my work. And a lot of my clients are very intuitive.
mm.
So they see and they hear and they feel. And the more you do this work, the more you heighten your senses and deepen your senses anyway, which is amazing.
Mm. I think it's probably very obvious to people now why you specifically chose to work with women, because you were in that very position yourself. You felt very disconnected and disjointed with that inner feminine energy core, and you were having to
Yeah.
do very masculine things, and that caused you to have that situation. So can you kind of talk about what led up to that? Like, were you in a corporate environment? Were you just working in an office? Like, kind of what built up to that culmination?
Yeah, so many things. So I actually started my career in travel. So I know we were having a chat before. I'm
Mm.
absolutely love travel. It's like I always say, if people was to cut me in half, they'd see like a world map because I absolutely love travel so much. That
Yeah.
is my passion. And when I got back from traveling, and I got back from working overseas in my early 20s, I was always conditioned, which a lot of us are, conditioned to work in the corporate world. So I kind of embarked on the corporate world. I was a project manager. I was working in construction, rail, water,
Mm,
very much male dominating industry where it's very cutthroat, it's very
mm,
aggressive. You don't have time to, get upset or be emotional or say you're tired or not feeling well. It's very much like get on with it. And I think, prolonging that over a long amount of time caused a lot of stress,
mm,
I didn't realize I inherited a lot of teams. I was a team manager and I inherited a lot of teams that hadn't been managed before and was accelerated through the business very quickly with no training myself. So I was a manager with no training and it just all got too much for me.
mm,
About 7 years ago, I was managing a very, very out of control team. They'd never been managed before, no training. They didn't really know. They didn't even know when. They didn't have a holiday chart. They didn't know when their lunch breaks were. They just didn't turn up some days for work. It was quite horrific. I had to literally start from the very, very basics and say, you cannot take a 2-hour lunch. And if your hours are 9, you need to be in at 9, not 12. So it was quite horrific. And I think that was the tip of the iceberg for me, and it ended up being the catalyst for my growth. I actually had to go through a very, very traumatic experience in that company where there were a couple of people in my team that set up a hate group, and they threatened to poison me, and it went to court, and it was quite traumatic. But because of my conditioning, I don't think I really observed and absorbed the traumatic impact that had on me. When I was going through it, my conditioning was, I can do this. So I was getting up every day, putting my lipstick on, doing my hair, turning up to work with a smile. But it hit me a year later. And a year later, I just literally went downhill. My health was very, very bad. And it was only then, from starting to have healing and embarking on healing, that I started to look at patterns in my behavior and what I had allowed to happen in workplaces, not having boundaries, logging on my laptop at weekends, doing 12-hour days. I had no balance at all. So I think, to answer your question, how I got there was a huge build-up of stressful jobs with no structure, out of control teams, no training, no boundaries. And I felt like all 4 walls were just collapsing on top of me. And it's amazing how you can actually get through that, and how you start to embark on this personal journey, and you start to look at yourself and you realize that actually everything comes from you, and how you tell people how you want them to treat you by how you treat yourself. And it all stems with you. So when you set firm boundaries and you love yourself and you eat clean and you work on your mindset, all the other people that don't align to that will ripple out of your life, because they're not energetically aligned. So when you shift, everything around you shifts as well.
And that sounds extremely intense. Like that's I can imagine that's a very, very heavy energy for people to go create a hate group, and you're like, it's okay, it's just kind of workplace people teaming up against the team leader or the boss. But like, no, I imagine you can feel that energy, that heaviness, and it's definitely for your nervous system, for just you can only push it down for so long.
It was suppressed. I had very severe anxiety and I got hospitalized. That's how I actually lost the lining of my womb. And I was very weak, and I'm a very confident person, and I didn't basically it was just a terrible, terrible time. They kept the script of what they actually said. They kept it from me for 4 months. And then they showed me, and we had to go through like a trial, and they showed me word for word as to what they written. And I think it was the shock of seeing what people had written. And it was really all down to the fact that I had temporary staff that worked for me that had been there for 6 months, and we were overstaffed and we were coming to the end of the project. And so I had to give them notice to say that the project was coming to an end. And they didn't take it very well at all, which, you do contract work and you work in construction. That's the nature of the job. And that's basically what it was. But I took it very personal, very, very personal. But I'm so grateful for that experience, because I would not have done the inner work that I've done today. And my relationships, it affected my personal relationships, because it made me really reflect and analyze the personal long-term relationship that I was in. And actually, I hadn't realized it was quite passive aggressive and quite controlling. But at the time, I just wasn't really paying attention to it, because I was so consumed by my job. So then everything changed. And when you lose a 9-year relationship and you lose your career, you then get left with yourself and you think, I don't know who I am. I don't know, who am I without a job and relationship? Because I give so much to both of these. I don't know what's left. So then you have to start building yourself back up and healing from within. And it was a huge journey. Yeah.
And you had been living for so long because of the job and no time for yourself, so out of alignment with your inner core. So when you
Yeah.
had that whole catalyst, that whole kind of changing point, so that started you, it sounds like, on the journey to say, no, I need to get back to this, like who I am, get back to my actual core and things that are in line with me. And then you started kind of just learning for yourself and getting working with teachers. How did that look?
Yeah, so while I was going through this trial with my company at the time,
Mm.
I met a lady at a networking event, and she said to me, "Have you ever heard of Reiki?" And I said, "No, but I'm willing to give anything a go." And I was saying to her, I keep having heart palpitations. And back then, you think 7 years ago, anxiety wasn't really heard of. I didn't even know what it was. Um, and she said to me, "I think you've got anxiety." And I said, "I don't know what that is. I just knew I wanted to feel better. I didn't feel well in myself."
Yeah.
And so I went along to this lady, and she took me up the stairs, and there was this massage table, and I was like, I don't know what is going on right now.
What's happened? Yeah.
I'm not sure. I haven't told anyone where I am. So I was a bit like, oh, and of course, when you're an anxious person, not actually knowing what's going to happen makes it worse.
Yeah.
And I remember really crying in the first session and saying, I need you to explain to me what's going to happen before you start this session. But the session was just amazing. I didn't realize just how intuitive I was until I had that session. You know, all through my life, I would kind of know things were going to happen before they happened, but I thought everybody was like that. And I had very deep connections with certain people, and I'd feel overwhelmed when I was in big groups. I didn't realize that was my empath and my highly sensitive gift. I didn't know that. But I think having that first session, it just was so powerful in my eyes. I got loads of flickering of lights. I saw the words, "They won't hurt you anymore." I felt huge weight get lifted from my body. And I felt physically weak. I think probably where I felt the energy shift. And I remember getting in my car and driving home, and I remember just excessively laughing. I was sat at the traffic lights, and I remember just laughing to myself. It was a lovely sunny day, and there were people sat in the car next to me, and they were looking at me, laughing at each other, laughing at me, laughing, because I had no music on, no one else in the car. And they were probably thinking, who is this mad woman? Like, what are you laughing at? And I was driving all the way home, and I thought, oh my gosh, it felt like somebody had syringed my ears. I could really hear, and I felt so connected. I turned the TV on, and I felt so connected to the program and listening, whereas before I felt like I was in a fog, and that I could watch a program start to end and then not tell, I couldn't tell you what it was about, because my mind would be drifting so much, and I couldn't take in any more information because I was so full up with energy. So by having that first session, it kind of cleared out so much gunk within me, energetic, that had been stored up, that I became this clear vessel that really made me hear things. And I got this wave of emotion of laughing, and thought, gosh, I haven't laughed like this for so long. And that was really the beginning of my journey. And I went back to this lady regularly for 6 months. And then after 6 months, I said, okay, I need to certify in this. Where do I sign?
Oh, wow.
So I certified as a level 1 practitioner. And then a few years later, I went on to do my level 2, which is the professional level. And then a few years after that, I went on to do my master teacher. So, and I now teach people in Reiki. I have online courses and face-to-face courses where women can do the level 1 and level 2 with me. And when you do the level 1, it means you can actually give yourself your own healing, which is an amazing gift to have. So that's kind of how it all happened, really.
Yeah, it sounds like because it had such a powerful impact on you personally, it was almost like there's no way I can't not teach this to other people or help other people potentially going through the same thing as I did, not have this experience of the other side.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what? When you look at it now, you'd have thought that 7 years ago, I'd have thought I'm going to be a teacher, but I never thought that. It just one thing led to the other.
Mm.
And I left it a few years in between my levels. I never rushed it.
Yeah.
I just took it because each level you create your own journey with it. There's so much to learn and so much to embody. And as well as doing that, I thought I could really notice people's mindset. I was doing clients from home, and I've been working online now for 3 years. And I was noticing a lot of clients coming to me with negative thoughts and things that were coming from their past. And I'm quite clairvoyant, so I see visions and I work with spirit. And I thought I want to understand the brain more. So 3 years ago, I went and qualified as an NLP practitioner. So this is neuro-linguistic programming. And so it's quite heavy, but it teaches you about how the brain works and your subconscious and your conscious mind. And we also did a certificate in hypnosis and timeline therapy as well. And that really complements the healing because it helps me understand when I'm working with clients what their limiting beliefs are. And we can just literally snap them out of it. We can understand where it comes from and we can move it and we can reframe it. And so, yeah, I think through my journey of self-discovery and everything like that, it's then helped me help all these amazing people worldwide, which has just been brilliant.
I think that's a theme I've heard quite a few times in these conversations is people started these experiences just for themselves because they needed a change. Like it sounded like you're almost like, I'm just in such a bad place. I don't care what's going to get me there, but if you can promise me that result, I'm in. Like you were saying, you didn't
Take
even
my
know
wallet, take my money.
you didn't know what Reiki was. You was like, I don't care if you can promise me a change to what I'm currently feeling, I'm in it. And then it sounds like as you've gotten into that world, you've obviously started to learn more techniques and different ways to improve on that, and also ways to work with your clients. And speaking of your clients, so it sounds like you kind of had that in it to win it mindset quite fast. Like you said, 6 months you started doing the teaching training. How did you kind of go first to start finding some clients and develop this into a business that you could do it full time and help people?
Gosh, do you know, I don't even know where I started. I think when I first qualified, I'm sure we would have had social media back then. I think I probably just made some posts on social media and said, does anybody, and I had a treatment. I was very lucky. I lived in quite a big house on my own. I had my own treatment room. So I had my office upstairs for coaching clients, and I had my dining room, which was my treatment room downstairs. So I could really spread myself out. And I was working in a gym at the time. So I had clients from the gym that would come to my house, and I'm quite a social person. So you just end up talking to people. At the time I was doing a day job, and, you know, I was working in construction, and every single woman in construction was stressed and needed help. So I had clients from my day job, friends and family, word of mouth. And then I branched out and started to work in salons on a Saturday. And then I realized actually I'm paying to be here when I've got my own salon from home. So it never really fitted well. And then what happened was I lost my job. I was working for a company that went into liquidation. And it was the time in the UK when we had this huge snow blizzard called Beast from the East. And there was snow all the way up to like the car door. And I just couldn't travel to get to my job. And so I meditated, and I'd not long qualified in coaching. And I thought there must be a way that I can help people online where I don't need to leave. I've got all these skills. Like, how can I help people? So I started going into Facebook groups and saying, does anybody need healing? Does anybody want to have a healing session with me? And I had my first online because I think we had Zoom back then, and I just, in the first couple of months I was working with women in, I had a lady in South Africa, I had my first paying one-to-one client in the USA, and it happened very, very quick. And then I think 6 months into that, I was still working in my day job. My mindset started to spiral, and I didn't have the business principles. You know, when you work for yourself, you need to know how to market, you need to know how to design, you need to know all the back office, the technical stuff. And when you're doing a day job, gosh, it's just, and then you're coming home and having clients in the evening.
A lot.
It's so much, yeah, so much. So I did struggle, but I just took my time with it. And I think what really helped me was the pandemic last year. It gave so much time to really focus on my business, that my business has massively grown since the pandemic, and everybody needs help with their mindset and their emotions. Everyone does.
Yeah. So you've almost like touched on that concept of the power of focus. Like we can have these amazing opportunities, but if we're kind of being pulled in 3 different directions because we have a job and other responsibilities, which are probably very important, but then we also want to try start something. Like we only have so much time, mental energy, and focus to give.
Yeah, that's so true. That is so true. I mean, I was paying for business coaches and just not even doing some of the sessions, or I would turn up to the sessions, but these business coaches would have 25 people on the call, and it'd be a 2-hour call. And I'd be like, gosh, I've been at work since 6 o'clock this morning. I've had a client. I need to eat my dinner. I need to go to bed. I need to refuel. And I just wanted to ask them one question. So I ended up not really showing up and doing the work, even though I'd paid to work with these coaches, because I was just so tired. And I think this is where I was going into my doing energy again. So I was serving clients, serving at my day job, and then not really having any time for myself and having no time to give back to myself and recharge. So yeah, I think finding the balance is key. I think nowadays you don't need to be, when you work for yourself, you don't need to be doing 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. I mean, you can make your own hours. I work less hours now and achieve so much more, which is just amazing.
Power of focus. You focus in on important things.
Yeah, everything comes from you. I think if you, and this is what I teach my clients, like if you work on yourself from the inside out and your cup is full and you're in alignment and you're working, you know, massive believer in going to the gym and eating healthy, and I have a routine every day, my mindset routine. I make sure I go for a walk. I have a spiritual toolbox. This is what my one-to-one clients get to learn. It's like a magical box that only one-to-one clients can see. And I put all my goodies in it and say, this is what you need to be using on a daily basis. And then you will have more energy and more focus for your clients. But a lot of people give so much to other people first, and they put themselves last, and that's where people go wrong, I think.
Yeah, it's a big thing a friend of mine's actually mentioned as well. It's the whole analogy of like when you're in an airplane and the oxygen masks come down.
That's right.
You got to look after yourself first before you can help other people.
100%. I massively believe in that. It's a big saying that they say in the NLP world. When we did our training, they always refer back to that, and it's so true. But I think society, we end up, we become the people that we spend the most time around. And so you're working in a corporate workplace and you're working with people that have no boundaries, that don't look after themselves, and they're smoking all day long and they're not eating, and they're having 8 cups of coffee and they're skipping meals and they're not having lunches. And then you then start to become them, and then all of a sudden you've got this huge group of people that are completely out of balance, but in the moment you feel that you're part of them. But you're not honoring yourself. So stepping away from that actually enables you the time and the capacity to go, do I actually want to do this? Is this something that I want to do? Or am I just doing it because it's habit? So yeah, it's interesting.
Do you have any useful tips in that regard to maybe someone's in a corporate job right now and they're kind of sucked into that world? How do you get that awareness of like even asking yourself and saying, is this actually what I want? Do you have kind of any suggestions there?
Yeah, like I would say the main thing, I have some 9 to 5 like clients that are in the 9 to 5, and I have some that run their own business. I work with both.
Mm,
People that are in a 9 to 5 that maybe not coping, or they're not quite sure how to get out of that, my number one tip would be to create space. So either before you go to work, get up an hour earlier
mm,
and do meditation, or read an audiobook, or go for a walk around your block, or do
mm,
yoga, or have time for yourself in the morning before you jump in your car and go to work.
yeah.
um, Make that time for yourself, journal, meditate, whatever that might be, and also do it in the evening. So when you need to break your state, as we say in NLP, you have to break your state. So
Mm,
lunchtime, I never used to go into the lunchtime room. I've spent all morning in the office with all this energy. I need to disconnect from it. So,
mhm.
I would just walk and not want to talk to anyone. People would say, Lorna, do you want to come to lunch? Absolutely not. I want to get away from you
Get
guys.
out of my face.
Yeah, like I don't want to hear or see another human for the next hour.
Yeah.
And that's what I was like. So, I've worked with one of my one-to-one clients at the moment, and one of her sessions was literally planning to have space in her day.
Mm,
And she said it was such an amazing session. But sometimes we're just so used to doing what we've always done, we don't know how to break that cycle.
mm,
um, and so just making small pocket holes of gaps and space in your day,
mm,
to give back to yourself, to break your stay, is going to massively help you. So in the morning, lunchtime, evening, you need to give back to yourself. And even if you're a mum, I say lock the door for half an hour, have a bath, tell
mm,
your kids they're knocking on the door, they need to go to the toilet before and after. They need to know that half an hour is yours no matter what.
mm.
And put your headphones in, and that's your time. You have to give back to yourself. So
Mm.
yeah, that's my tip.
Yeah. And the amazing thing is, as in your situation, your story, even just taking yourself down this journey of self growth and giving yourself time and finding kind of coming back to your inner core, this could turn into a potential way you're helping other people, and you maybe end up wanting to start sharing this with other people, and then the whole cycle repeats, and then other people learn and they want to start helping others, and it's really beautiful. One thing I thought you mentioned earlier, which was actually quite just like brief, but I think it's quite cool and important, is you said, yeah, when you were trying to find some people to kind of work with when you first kind of started, you just went into Facebook groups. You also started reaching out to other ladies in the construction world that you were in. I think that's a good step, is if you were in this position, working in a corporate job as a lawyer or an accountant, then you went on this journey and now you're doing something new, reach out to all the accountants and lawyers, because they probably are experiencing the exact same things you felt, and be like, hey, this was me in construction. Now I'm happy and not in construction, or I'm
Yes.
happier. I can help you be happier while still being in construction because I was there.
It's so true. When I first started my business, I wanted to work in I wanted to help corporates.
Mm,
So I did a huge exhibition called the Health and Wellbeing at Work event, and it was full of huge banks, banks, British corporate companies, had amazing stands, huge budgets. Like
mm-hmm,
you'd go to their stand and it was sparkly and shiny and lit up, and they had all
mm-hmm,
these automated things. And then there was me, like
yeah,
with a bright orange stall with a clipboard, like, hi.
yeah,
But it was amazing because it gave me the opportunity to talk to solicitors, lawyers, bank managers, and get
mm,
all the data and actually say, what do you implement in your business? Like, what well-being principles do you have, and
mm,
what do you offer your staff? Um, so coming from a corporate aspect, I did that. And then I also use LinkedIn to
mm,
speak to 9 to 5 women. But these days, even though I'm on LinkedIn and I have 9 to 5 women, these days 98% of my clients come from referral, or
mm,
they come from social media.
mm,
um, I have a website. I paid a lot of money to get a new website last year.
mm,
It's now offline because I don't actually need it. I
mm,
think when you're putting it out to the world, and you don't even need to ask for testimonials, people are just so blown away by their transformation that they naturally want to go and tell everybody. And like you said, it just creates a ripple, effect. You'll find a lot of my clients, business women, are the same as they were in 9 to 5, because what happens is they take their behavior from their 9 to 5 into their business. So they then think they have to do a 9 to 5 hours. They think if they don't do 8 hours, they're not good enough. It comes from self-worth. And I say to them, realistically, when you're at work and you've done those 8 hours, how long have you been at your desk for? Like, let's think about this. How would you like your day to be? How would you like to start your day? What is good for you? You are the owner of your life now, right? Yeah. So do you want to get up and go to the gym? When are you more productive? Day, evening, lunchtime? And we look at their behaviors and their habits, and we design something that works for them. And they don't have to do 8-hour days. They can shorten it and they get much more done. So I think behaviors and habits and things like that come into it as well. It's a big part of it.
Yeah, no, that's extremely powerful. Is try not to take the previous, this is how things are done, into a new way. Like maybe you don't even work the best way you can in that previous paradigm. I know we've got just a few minutes left of your very precious time, but you mentioned social media and how you get a lot of your clients now via that way, referrals, social media. Can you talk a bit about if you're doing anything specific there for people maybe wanting to take a dive into this world, build it up, and it could be a tool for them?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually, I have an online mass healing group, which is called Energy Ignite. And this is where, if anybody's new to their healing journey and they've not had healing before, or perhaps financially because of what's happened with the pandemic, it's a low offer subscription where you can receive healing on a mass scale every month. So that's currently what's on offer at the moment. But yeah, so there's loads of things. I do certification courses and one-to-one work. There is also, I have a free chakra quiz. I don't know if you want to offer that to your clients, because a lot of people don't really know that they're out of balance. They don't really know what the symptoms are, so they can go and do this quiz and it will tell them like what part of their energy field is blocked and what they can do to bring themselves back into balance.
Where would people come across that?
So there is a link actually on my Instagram. So my Instagram is at Lorna_Jane, JAYNE_. And if you click the link in my bio, there is a link there that says access to free chakra quiz.
Amazing. I think that would be a lot of fun for people potentially wanting to go down the route with the type of thing you're doing, or they're also coaches or spiritual coaches themselves, and they're curious maybe if they've got a blockage somewhere. So just to wrap up, because I think people really appreciate your time, and what's the best way for people to reach out to you if they want to get in contact, see more about what you're about, what you got going on?
So Facebook is Lorna Jane. So Lorna Jane is JAYNE, because some people spell it the other way. And Instagram is at Lorna_Jane_.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll include that all in the bottom. But thank you very much again for your time. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you so much for having me. We could talk forever, I think. To be continued.
Absolutely. We can bring back the Bali conversation as well.
Definitely, 100%. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Automator series as much as I enjoyed having it. And there are two things I want you to do now. I want you firstly to follow me on YouTube, get that subscription in, because you're going to see all the new episodes popping up in that case, and you can stay on top of the series. And the second thing is, I want you to reach out to me. If anything we discussed on the episode today resonated with you in regards to potentially taking a jump into an online spiritual coaching business, or you really have a business and you're wanting to grow that out and you're feeling like you could be impacting a lot more lives, but you don't quite have the time right now, you don't quite have the freedom you wanted, and you don't quite have those systems in place, I want you to reach out to me. It's a no pressure, no strings attached. Send me a message on Facebook, LinkedIn, email, whatever you prefer, and we can just have a conversation and a bit of a back and forth in regards to where you're at, what you're looking for, and how I might be able to help you impact more lives with what you're doing.